I'm 2 minutes late. I didn't actually realise the time. Ooh. How are you all? How is everybody? It's Tuesday. It's still Tuesday. I don't know if it's like that for you, but yeah, it's still Tuesday if you're wondering. I'm here today in my lovely clinic, just doing some work, getting prepared to have you all back, which is really exciting. So yeah, just having a bit of a clear out, just moving things around, making it less cluttered. We've got various stickers and posters and visors and screens and all kinds of paraphernalia that I need to unpack and work out what I do with. So this week we have been running our little mini series on how to come to the clinic safely, and also added to that just how to kind of go out and about safely now that we're kind of easing lockdown, and hopefully we continue on that trajectory. Obviously there's always a chance that we could go backwards, but really hoping that doesn't happen, and all of these little measures will help on that front as well. So I love a recap. We're going to do a quick recap. So we kicked off with the face mask, and you can watch all of these videos back, and they're all really short, so they're not going to bore you, nothing too technical. The face masks, which again, just to reiterate, the government are asking us to wear a face covering if we're somewhere we cannot maintain the 2 metre social distancing, so typically supermarkets and public transport, and they're asking us just to make our own or improvise as opposed to getting the medical and surgical masks. And really the key thing is you want to cover both the nose and the mouth, and whatever you're using, when it's in place, you really want to leave it in place until you reach your destination. So the main point that I see where people are going wrong a lot is the constant pulling up and down of the mask, holding on to the front of it. Someone's going to ring on the doorbell in a sec, I swear. So put your mask on, try not to touch the front of it once it's in place, the bit that's covering your mouth and nose, and try and wear it for the duration of your trip until you get to your destination, where you can take it off and immediately wash your hands, okay? That's masks. Gloves, you make your own call, but just so that you understand what the kind of rationale of wearing gloves when we do wear gloves in hospitals and clinical environments, just have a look at my previous video on that one. For me, it's unnecessary. It's next door. Next door. Next door. So, postman, it's next door. For me, it's unnecessary because all the bacteria, the virus is still on the hands. So you're better off not wearing gloves so you can wash your hands. That's my personal view on that one. What else have we done? We've done how to keep your hands clean, and just a lot of this is about retraining the way we behave when we're out and about. So trying to avoid touching everything, which is a real natural kind of impulse. And then washing hands thoroughly, drying hands thoroughly, and maintaining the health of the skin on the hands as well. So those are all going to help keep us safe. Yesterday I talked about what to bring when you're coming out and about, and again, it's just retraining your brain. If you're like me, a bit of a bag lady, just be a bit more considered. Do you really need to take everything with you on that particular trip? So the more things that you carry around, the more things you've got to potentially, come home with virus attached, for want of a better word. So we know that the virus can live on surfaces, on clothes, on all kinds of things. So really the less that you have on your person, the better. And just having things accessible. So in other words, that your keys aren't, at the bottom of your bag, so every time you need them, you need to put your dirty hands inside and touch everything, scrabbling around for them. Same for your bus pass and your wallet, all of those things, just thinking about what I might need when I'm out and about. Talked about perhaps taking some tissues in case you've found somewhere to wash your hands but there's nowhere particularly nice to dry them, and also some hand sanitizer, between 60 and 90% alcohol, in the event that you cannot actually wash your hands, because nothing substitutes soap and water. Okay, but if you can't do that, then hand sanitizer will come in handy for you. Again, really harsh on the skin, so moisturising the hands is for men and women. It's not about aesthetics. It can be about aesthetics, but it's also about maintaining the integrity of the skin on the hands so that you don't get breaks and tears in the skin, because breaks and tears in the skin can act as an entry point for things like viruses. So anywhere that's kind of got mucous membranes, so we're talking at mouth, nose, eyes, those are all entry points. And then again, if you get a break in the skin, that would be another entry point. So the skin health of your hands is really important, and like everything, much easier to kind of prevent dry, cracked hands than treating them once you've got them. Really hard to fix. So today is like a letter to myself, really. Today's topic is slow down. So I've mentioned a couple of times that I really think the key going forward is that we have got to retrain our brains a little bit, in that we've got to start doing things differently, which is really weird because we're not used to it. And I think we need to be a bit more considered and a bit more mindful of how we do things, which is really weird. And I say a letter to myself because I'm constantly rushing around like a headless chicken. And, you know, everything, you know, I want to get everything done quickly and move on to the next thing. And I think what we're going to need to learn in this new world of ours is a little bit of patience and a little bit of slowing down, which is actually no bad thing. I think, you know, we've all had a little bit of that already during lockdown. And is it a bad thing? No, it's not at all. But I think coming back into a sort of a working environment and back into a more normalised routine, I think we need to appreciate that everything we do is going to be slower. So therefore we need to allow more time for everything. So we might need to allow more time for our journeys. For example, if you're coming for an appointment here, you might want to leave earlier than you normally would. Just because it may be that you don't want to get on the tube that pulls up and it's stuffed full. You know, it may be that you need to go to the shops on the way and there's going to be a queue. So, you know, queuing we're used to now, and that's pretty much everywhere you go. So I think training our brains to realise that things are going to move slower and take longer will help us not to get frustrated, not to get angry, not to lose our tempers, and to try and be sort of kind and considerate. The other thing I think which is more difficult is understanding the different levels of anxiety that people have. So for people who are quite relaxed about the whole COVID situation, I think it's easy to kind of smirk and laugh at people when you see them in what you might consider over the top masks or gloves or, you know, whatever it is. But I think, again, we just need to be a bit slower, a bit kinder, and appreciate that we don't know what's going on for that person, and perhaps they're living with somebody who's got a significant health problem. Perhaps they actually know somebody who's suffered with COVID or even died from it. Perhaps they have an anxious personality type anyway. And likewise for those people who are all decked out in their protective gear, I think the same when they're looking at people who aren't in the protective gear and just trying to realise that, you know, we all have a slightly different perspective. We're getting very mixed messages from the government in terms of what we have to do, what we're obliged to do. So being kind and considerate to everyone around us, I think, will just help us get on easier as we try and get some normality back in our lives. Realising that everything's going to be slow. You cannot rush to the supermarket in your lunch break, get your week shopping and rush back to the office. It's not going to work like that anymore. And I think the more that we understand that and the more that we move around knowing that, the less cross we'll get, the less frustrated we'll get, and the better we'll be able to cope. So it's new for all of us, and like I say, letter to myself, I'm a headless chicken most of the time, so I'm going to find it as tough as anyone else. So not carrying 40 bags around with me, not rushing around and trying to do 2 weeks work in one day. It's tough, and we live in London. It's a really fast-paced city. Everyone wants to get somewhere quickly. Everybody's on the go. But this is different now, and we want to really just be kind to ourselves, be kind to others. Try and make this ease of lockdown work. Try and be open-minded to other people's views and opinions, because you know what? Sometimes you learn something. When you hear other people's logic and rationale, and we're still figuring this whole virus situation out. Like I say, we're getting very, very mixed messages from the government, so we've got a lot to learn. Okay, so that is the last in my little series of tips at 2 to help